Hey guys, this is Kenneth Gruenfelder coming to you live from my basement. Obviously I do my radio show at Quinnipiac University, but obviously after the Giant game, I wanted to get my thoughts out there on what transpired yesterday. So obviously yesterday, Eli Manning made his return to the starting quarterback position for the Giants, and he had a very good first half of the game, obviously, connecting with Darius Slaton, who finished with 154 receiving yards on the day. But all those stats came in the first half. And, going into halftime, 17-3, how surprised was I at the conclusion of the game? I wasn't surprised at all. I thought that the Giants really, I thought Eli played pretty good. Overall, I thought he played pretty good. But this is what the Giants do, and this is something that is going to continue. The Giants are going to continue down this path, and they're not until they make a change at the coach and they fire the GM and they bring in somebody that knows what they're doing. The Giants are going to continue to suffer. And, it all goes back to, and I've said this on my show many times, is I think John Mara is starting to, and the Tisches, I think they're starting to head towards that Will Pons, Christopher Johnson, the Johnson brothers territory, and the Dolans, in the sense that this ownership group really has no idea what they're doing. And it's going to continue, because what makes Giant fans think that after firing Shermer and after firing, once they fire Shermer, and obviously when they brought in Ben McAdoo, they've swung and missed on both coaches that they've brought in. And what makes us think as Giants fans that they're going to get it right this time? And there are people out there that they could bring in and, would be huge upgrades over what they have right now. Obviously, Mike McCarthy, Ron Rivera are out there, but you don't really know. But ownership is really the reason for what's going on with this team. But in terms of the game, I wasn't surprised, but come on. Like, the Eagles made adjustments. The Giants made no adjustments. Again, you had guys out there you never even heard of on the Eagles. What was it, Boston Scott? He looked like he was Alvin Kamara out there. Christian McCaffrey, he just was open every single time. How wide open is Zach Ertz? Zach Ertz was like the last guy out there that was healthy. You had a college quarterback playing receiver. You had 3 tight ends. All these no-names I've never heard of with Goddard and Ertz. And Zach Ertz was wide open almost every single time. And this defense is just terrible. There is nothing. This defense is just awful. And the Giants need a complete makeover after the season. They really need to get rid of people. But you know what? I don't think this was Eli's last start. I think he's going to finish out the season because Daniel Jones is not healthy. Why would you want to rush Daniel Jones back? His team's going nowhere. You've now lost 9 straight. Why would you want to rush him back? Let Eli finish out the season and see where you can go from there. It's unbelievable. It's terrible. I just was not surprised by what happened last night. And you know what? It's unfortunate because Eli, you could say whatever you want about him, how, he's not really a Hall of Famer and all this stuff with all the interceptions and stuff that he's done. But you know what? This guy is a consummate professional. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He never missed a start because of an injury. He's top 10 in almost every passing category, but nobody talks about that. And nobody talks about really how clutch this guy can be in big spots. Everybody just wants to focus on the negative and not the positive with Eli. And you know what? I hope that he finishes the season at 500 because they do have to play the Eagles again. And hey, they could beat the Dolphins next week and they could beat the Redskins, but will they? I don't think so. So Eli's going to finish the regular season with a sub 500 record. But you know what? It's not all his fault. It's ownership. Ownership has really screwed this guy. And listen, I was happy for him that he was able to play well. And you know what? Hey, it was nice to see. I mean, the Eagles showed respect for him, but I mean, come on, it's just unbelievable how the Giants' defense just let them down. And I know that the Giants were completely shut down in the second half, and I understand that, and it's predictable at this point because that's what the Giants do. And they give up big leads. I mean, they did it last year in Philadelphia. They were killing the Eagles 19-7. And then the Eagles came back and beat them in the end. You know, it felt like that game. We've seen this so many times for the last 5 years, and it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. There needs to be change. But you know what? It's unfortunate. I was really hoping that Eli would pull it out. Just, you know, in case he doesn't make the start next week, he at least finishes with an above 500 record. And he goes out on a high note. But, you know, typical Giants, they continue to disappoint us. And, hey, getting that draft pick, the more games we lose, we get a higher draft pick. Pat Shurmur and Dave Gettleman are possibly being pushed out the door, and I cannot wait for that. But overall, not surprised about yesterday, Monday night's game. And you know what, hey, we got 3 more games left, and the playoffs start, and we don't have to deal with any crappy teams to watch. We can focus on good games the rest of the way. I don't want to get into all that stuff, though, but I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts on the Giants. And the other thing was, quick thing, the Phillies signed Didi Gregorius to a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Phillies. You know, I'm upset about that. I think the Yankees really made a mistake there. I understand that obviously you have Andujar coming back, and you could just, you know, move Torres to short, put LeMahieu at second base, and then obviously, I don't know if I just said Urshela plays third, I guess, every day, and you have Andujar and Urshela fight over that spot, and obviously Voit and Mike Ford, I guess, will patrol first base. But Didi Gregorius, this guy, you know, I know he was coming off a rough year, but this guy was amazing for the Yankees. For where he came from and who he was replacing, and how he was able to handle the adversity and get through the rough patches and be able to become one of the best players on the Yankees up to this point over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. This guy was reliable. This guy came up in big spots. You know, I was there when he hit the home run in the wild card game, and that changed the whole momentum of the game after Severino was terrible in the first inning, giving up those 3 runs. You know, Didi was there to, you know, he got his back, and Didi's got some big hits for this team. It was unfortunate that he never made an all-star team while he was on the Yankees because he deserved it. I wish we won a championship with this group. I really did, but obviously that didn't happen. And he's on the Phillies now with Joe Girardi, which I think is a good thing. You know, if the Phillies get further than the Yankees in the playoffs, obviously if they don't play in the World Series, I would root for the Phillies because, you know, obviously Girardi was a manager for this team all those years, and Didi, you know, he was my favorite player, and it's unfortunate that the Yankees felt as though they just didn't need him. And I understand it in terms of the depth that they have, but this is a guy that I think they should have tried to prioritize and bring back. Now, obviously, Garrett Cole, the Yankees might be getting him, and they don't know if they could sign him and Didi. But you know what? In order to get, you got to let go of some things. And if the Yankees are able to land Garrett Cole, then it makes sense why they didn't re-sign Didi. But at the same time, I think it was kind of a mistake on their part, and I think it might come back to haunt them down the road. But we'll see. Yeah, so that's the other thing I wanted to get to. But obviously, with all the NFL stuff, you know, NFC Playoff Picture, pretty much, you know, the division, you kind of know who's going to, you know the Saints are in. The 49ers and the Seahawks are going to make it. The Packers are most likely going to make it. The Vikings and the Rams are kind of going to battle it out for those last two, for that last wild card spot. Because right now the Rams, they've made a recent run, and the Vikings got to keep winning. Because if Kirk Cousins chokes these 2 of the last 3 games and the Rams somehow win out, Vikings are out again, and then people are going to want Kirk Cousins' head chopped off. So, but that 49ers Saints game though, that's definitely the NFC Championship right there. As much as I would love to see Aaron Rodgers get there, after that game, I'm like, those 2 are the best teams. Green Bay has no shot against either one of those teams, and it's unfortunate. I really want Aaron Rodgers to get that second Super Bowl, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think there's just so much. I think the odds are stacked against him. I think they're inconsistent. Those two teams are just juggernauts, and one of those 2 is going to the Super Bowl. Green Bay, hey, you never know, but even if right now Green Bay is the 2nd seed, and if Green Bay is playing New Orleans, it doesn't even matter. If Green Bay has to go to New Orleans and New Orleans has to go to Green Bay, it doesn't matter. I think New Orleans is beating Green Bay either way. I really do. I don't think Green Bay's defense has performed like it did in the first half. And look, they're still winning games. They're 10-3, and you never know. If Green Bay gets a bye week, maybe they try to figure it out. But we've been saying it the whole year. We're waiting for Green Bay to be consistent, and they haven't. And I think at this point it's too late. I think that they're not going anywhere. I think it's going to come down to San Francisco and the Saints for the Super Bowl. And then on the AFC side, I think it's going to come down to the Chiefs and the Ravens. I really do. Because after what happened in New England with the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs were the much better team than New England. New England's very limited on offense. Their defense can only do so much. And listen, the Chiefs already beat the Ravens, but this time around it's going to be in Baltimore, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, that's all I got for this little segment. I just wanted to get my thoughts on the Giants and Didi being signed by the Phillies, and just a little bit of NFL stuff. So might try to do this weekly. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it, and see you next time. Have a good night, and like I just said, see you next time.